my little intro.
Good afternoon. Is it 1 second past noon? Welcome to Honest Conversations with Mara and Christina, Dr. Christina Parks. I almost gave you guys my nickname. And if you know my nickname, I don't know, you might know me too well. So today we're going to be talking about our health goals. And this started, we were kind of debriefing our last one. And we're like, well, I have no idea what we're going to talk about. And it very quickly came up, our health goals and our fitness goals. Mara really puts a lot into working out. And so, her fitness is very important, but a lot of times, you don't even know why someone's in the gym. You might think you do, and you might make a lot of assumptions. And so we started talking about what are our health goals and how do our fitness goals go into them. Now, obviously, if you're an international bodybuilder, your fitness goals are only, they're kind of separate from your health goals, right?
Right. That's what I said. Now I remember it came back to me.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
I said, you said, well, what are your goals in the gym? And I was like, well, I'm not trying to win a bodybuilding competition. And that's when we started having conversations. So what are
And I was like, goals? Really? Because you look like you are to me.
Yeah. So for me, I've always, fitness and sports and activity has always been in my life. Very grateful to my mother. I think she was a bit of a tomboy and really always enjoyed sports. And she even shared with me that a lot of sports weren't even available to women in her day when she was growing up. So she felt really strongly about getting my brother and I involved in sports from a young age. And I feel like we have benefited tremendously. And I do the same with my kids. They have options, they get to try things and then see what they gravitate towards. And we always support, their participation in these things. And then my big tagline is I always say, when everybody asks me oh, you're always in the gym, or how do you do that? You just go every day. And it's my day is not right if I don't get my workout in. So I feel it's something that has momentum, and you just have to get to the point, you kind of get over this little hump where it's hard, and then it starts to feel good, and then you don't feel right if you didn't fit it in on whatever your schedule is. And I love, my schedule can be drop the kids at school, I round the corner and might park at the gym, and that's it. It's don't think about it. It's scheduled.
Yeah,
it's
and
non-negotiable.
It's been much more challenging for me with my work schedule and trying to get it in. And I like to be outside as much as I can, but then in the winter I have to go to the gym and I have to drive there. The weather's usually terrible. But let's go back to, I think I want to discuss what our goals are. I've always been active as well. And I think you were talking about for especially seniors, one of the things that puts them in a nursing home, actually them falling and breaking a hip is the number one cause of actually death. They don't die at the time, but they just keep declining. Mm-hmm. And so I know I want to maintain my mobility and my strength and my vitality as long as possible. And I know, when I hit 50, my muscle mass started to decline more than usual, and a little bit of sagginess here and this thing here. And I'm just okay, it's going to have to be, really consistent if from this point on, if I want to maintain a certain level of activity. And actually, I remember I was in the gym and I was doing one of those leg press where you go up, and, it was burning. And I thought, how blessed am I to be able to do this? Some people are quadriplegic or,
it's so
or
true.
Have something broken. And I don't know if it's skydiving injuries or I don't know what it is, but I've got something wrong, with my spine and my, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, we all have something, right? I have my scoliosis, which actually makes it even more important that I'm active, because the stronger the muscle is surrounding my spine, the less aches and pains I feel when I get up in the morning. And I think that I always say exercise and fitness makes everything in life better. Everything.
Makes everything easier. So.
Yes. But for me, right away when I've been away and I come back, I notice this immediate effect on my mood and my mental health.
Yes, there definitely is. It's just just get there. And
I just don't know what I would do without it. It's such an amazing outlet.
And I know for me, like getting into the gym, okay, sometimes I'll be like, I'll drop Tess off at her dad's house. And on the way back, because I do have a problem with like with my lower back, with my SI joint, I'm like, just go do those adductor, whatever, adductor ones. And so I'll
Hmm.
just go in for like 2 exercises. Well, you're there now. So then I'm
Right.
like, well, let me do a couple of these and a couple of that. What I wish they had more of, and maybe they do, is like, what is your just like baseline exercise? And I want it to be a few different things so I can mix it
Right.
up
And
and not do
actually,
it
that's
necessarily.
that. Yeah, and that's really funny that you say that, because I remember, like, obviously this whole longevity issue and mobility, like as I'm staring 50 in the face, has gotten more in my
Mhm.
awareness. But I remember even back in our 20s, like my husband came home with this book called The New Rules of Lifting for Men and the New
Mhm.
Rules of Lifting for Women. And the whole premise was that, like, they wrote in the introduction of the book, like when you're 80 years old, you need to be able to get on and off the toilet, period. And like, no joke, like that's in the book. And they're like, let's go. And I'm like, I was a little confused, like why my husband comes home with this. We're in our early 20s. I'm like, okay. But we were in the gym, and the reason I bring that up is what you just mentioned. Is I remember the book is just very specific on foundational lifting exercises, so that,
Mhm.
it's old, but there
Uh-huh.
are resources out there that, like, I know he always says, like, I always go in and I do a push and I do a pull, and we joke because I feel like men and women have different strengths. Obviously each individual does,
Right. Right.
but our joke is that it's chest day every day for him in his work, and it's leg day every day for me, which is
Yeah. And
not the
it's
truth,
always butt day, right?
but
And
it's
then
what we
we were like,
gravitate.
so like my health goals, one, and my foundation is actually that cellular health again. Because when I got like, if you don't have the energy to get into the gym, everyone's like, when you work out, it'll give you energy. Not if you have a whole bunch of health problems. I'm sorry. Sometimes it makes it worse. So
True.
once I got my cellular health on board and my adrenals kind of back, going to the gym is so much easier. And when I was pressing the other day, or now I can go for a jog, it took me like a couple of years to start running again. And I think it was adrenals. Like my system was just depleted,
Hmm.
So I think that but I walked. So during that time, I just walked.
Yeah. And I
And
actually,
then,
like, now what everybody is saying for, our age and older is this whole zone 2 cardio. So you're not supposed to be running. You're supposed to be walking. And if you think about it, just from a common sense perspective, the wear and tear on your joints is so much
exactly.
less when you're walking. So I used to love those high intensity spinning classes, and you'd be
Uh-huh.
like dripping sweat, and
Uh-huh.
and then you kind of get this like high. It's like running. You get
Yes,
this like high
absolutely.
after, but I really had to pull myself back from those. And to be honest, I feel like the effects of the lifting and just walking, like, and
Mhm.
so the zone 2 cardio is at a pace where you can have a conversation with someone. That's
Right.
like how, like, you're not like out of breath. And I tend to wear like a weight vest just to add a little bit, because, now my muscles are so strong. I need a little bit of a challenge. And I like to walk a hill, if I can find a good hill. Just the competitive
Well,
athlete
but
in.
like, here's the thing. So at first, like, I mean, I think at our age, it is important to just start. Like, walking is something you can do. And I was like, at some point, I was also going through a lot, so I would just be like walking, like, especially now in the summertime, at like 3 miles a day. Like, I
It's
would
very
go out at 7
meditative.
o'clock
it's
and like,
meditative as
yeah,
well,
and
like
walk
you
until
said.
like 9,
Hmm.
like, and I just walk in the park or whatever. But then eventually I felt like, okay, I can add a little walk jog. And it was funny because I started doing a walk jog, and when I took it into the gym and got on the treadmill, I realized I would walk for a minute or two, and then I would do like a minute jogging. I realized as soon as my heart rate dropped beneath like, 30 beats per minute or something. What is it that's the baseline? Anyway, whatever it was like a very medium, just getting into the medium intensity. Then
Hmm.
I would feel like running again. So it told me that I can intuitively trust my body. I can intuitively trust that when I'm out running and walking, that when I feel like, okay, I can jog again, I would walk for a little bit and then I'd be ready to jog again. that I can
Right.
trust that natural pacing and that it actually translated to the exact heart rate in the gym that
Right,
was
that you were
appropriate
meant
for me.
to be going for, and that is a beautiful thing about fitness is I feel like it does connect you with your body. You have this like reciprocal conversation going on where you're just kind of scanning and checking in. And I love all types of movement. Like I'm into this lifting right now, but my trainer is really good. He calls himself like a longevity trainer, so he's
Uh-huh.
always putting in mobility work. Like he'll be like, all right, I show up and he'll be like, we're doing mobility today. And sometimes, like my partner and I will be like, oh, seriously, come on. Like we really wanted to work out. Or some days it's like a Monday after,
Uh-huh.
a long weekend. And I'm
So
like,
what
yes,
is
yes, yes.
mobility? How is that different?
So mobility, the way he describes it is like it really how much you can lift is really not a measure of how strong you are.
Right,
It's the mobility in your joints. So your
right,
shoulder joint, your hip
right.
joint, your knee joint. And so he does targeted exercises which appear to be very subtle, but they are really hard work. I think when you came last visit to Bermuda and you came to the gym a few times, you might have seen some of the mobility stuff that
Mhm.
we do. Like he puts us in different positions, like 90-90, your legs sitting in 90-90, and you're doing kind of like a hip rotator, and
Okay.
he'll put us in position with a 2 or 3 minute timer, and it's actually really hard, and you just kind of breathe through whatever you're feeling, and then he might ask you to pulse something afterwards.
Mhm.
And it doesn't look like you're doing anything and you're not touching the weights, but you get up and you go on with your day.
I don't know,
And
whatever I saw you doing looked like torture to me.
that was probably
Like,
the heavy
yeah, so
weights
I'm
where
like,
I'm
maybe
like,
I need some dance or something. Like, but I do, and I know for women, like because I used to horseback riding, getting like this right here, this lifting something up over your head like a saddle
right,
or something, like
right,
up onto the back of the horse. You're like, oh my
right.
gosh, I didn't realize I was that weak. Do you know what I mean?
Well, and
Until
then we
you,
also have this symptom in menopause of like this frozen shoulder business. Have you heard
yeah,
about that? Where women are like, all of a sudden they have no movement in their shoulder joints. So, yeah, like they'll just be like frozen and it could go for like weeks at a time. And they don't even really understand some of it's obviously the hormone loss and all that stuff.
yeah,
But
I've been wondering about that. And I'm wondering about like how much of it is hormones. Like, and then there's all these things online saying your hips freeze. And like, and I have noticed more, well, I've always had stiffness and problems, but some stiffness, but I think some people are saying it's a collagen thing, but what most people don't realize is that inflammation
right,
really drives collagen breakdown. And
right.
so, like when we're talking about the cellular activators, reducing that inflammation can really, and then of course, we're on an activated collagen. And so
Hmm.
I'm hoping that that will also keep those joints. And, I think, we were talking about like, I ovulated again. I'm like almost 56 years old. And I guess it brings back the fact that our bodies can rejuvenate. They can restore. I think there's this fallacy that when you reach a certain age, it's all downhill. And the truth is, I'm probably the healthiest I've ever been in my life. Because when you're young, you just don't take care of yourself. And I was active and I was doing things and I look really good in pictures. But if I remember the time, I felt terrible because
Right,
I got all
right.
these weird chronic health issues.
Right. And maybe you're not eating the best or sleeping the best. Like you
I
said, you're
always
not.
tried because I
Yeah.
had such health issues.
Right.
So I
Right.
I wasn't a terrible person. I wasn't eating like Fruit Loops and, or
Total
whatever,
junk.
like some people. But to me, my health goal is to have that feeling of well-being and vitality and to be able to get up and do whatever it is I want to do
Yeah.
without being like, have you ever had where you go to get up off the floor and you're like, this shouldn't be hard? And then you're
I guess
like,
it depends how long you've been sitting there and in what position. But I don't know. I feel like I really feel lucky having been a swimmer because I feel
Mhm.
like that as a sport where you're swimming, you're training 8 to 10,000 yards, you're building up to these 3 hour practices.
Right.
It's quite rigorous, but you're not pounding pavement. You're in the water. It's
Yeah.
more gentle. My coaches always had us doing proper stroke technique and bilateral breathing so you weren't wearing down one shoulder more than
Wow.
another.
Or yeah. Well, that's good.
So I
And I
mean,
really love that now they have so many pools that are saltwater pools instead of
amazing.
chlorine,
Yes.
because I cannot, the chlorine or the bromine, it just absorbs into my skin. Is so toxic for me. I
I had so
cannot
many
do
years
that.
of
I
it.
cannot
I can't
do.
I can't go back to it. It's like I dealt with, I don't know how my body
Yeah, and if
coped with.
that's you, if you have like, a kid in swimming and it's
Hmm.
still a chlorine or bromine in the pool or in the hot tub, I think taking iodine can help wash some of that
Okay.
out, like
All right.
glucose iodine, like a
Yeah, that is
2
good to
or
know because
5%
yeah,
can help.
my son is swimming in a pool 3 days a week for an hour and a half each time already. And
So
luckily, we're open air. All the pools are open air in Bermuda, so that is a very different picture than like I grew up like you in winter in New England, and we had all these indoor pools, and it was literally like you felt like you were walking into a gas like
right,
environment.
but if the chlorine is still in the water, or
No, I know. You're still
it's still gonna
absorbing
get
it. You're
you.
still
Yeah,
absorbing it.
absolutely.
At least you get fresh air, a little fresh air and sunshine with it. It's a little bit better. But I'm
And
definitely
so
gonna
that's so funny
think
because
about
you were
iodine.
just asking me if he should be taking iodine because he got an X-ray because he broke his wrist.
Broke his wrist in two
Yeah.
places.
And
Yeah.
I said, no, it's when you're taking radiation, something that has radiation on it inside of you is when
Right.
iodine can be. And I think there might be some ways that sometimes they like actually put radioactive stuff in you to like,
Right.
so
Like if you're
maybe
having like a
education.
contrast dye, but
Yeah.
he didn't have that. He
No,
just had
but none of that. And so,
straight
and I was saying it's actually that cellular health, that like NRF2 activator that
right.
is going to help with that radiation signal, the X-ray, the
Right.
energy that's
Right.
hitting
Which
you.
I told you I
So it's
got
so
him
funny. I said, don't worry about the
taking.
iodine. And now I'm
Yeah.
like, he needs iodine because he's swimming in
Yeah.
the pool. Like,
For the chlorine. Well, he can't swim while he has his broken wrist, so he's out for a few weeks. So there you go. But I'll be prepared with. I have the Lugol's iodine in,
well,
of
I mean,
course, in my
it's
supplement
always,
drawer.
it's a good idea because he's still got the stuff in him. Like, do you know what I mean? It binds
Yes,
kind of
it's a
the
buildup.
bromine. Yeah, it's a buildup.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
So
Well,
where
that's good
were
to know.
we? So you
Yes,
were saying before, I think we even came on, that your health goals had shifted from your hernia
right.
to building muscle mass because you were afraid of losing it, I guess, as you
Yeah,
entered
yeah.
perimenopause.
So it was like managing the hernia symptoms and trying to stay fit enough that I wasn't carrying extra weight, right? And putting
Mhm.
pressure on that area and fasting and doing all those things, but at the same time, not exerting myself so hard that I would strain it and then have a
Mhm.
painful episode. So it was this really delicate balance for about 5 to 7 years, which was a lot to live with. And it was literally like go to the grocery store and it's kind of a funny thing in Bermuda, but I don't recall that we had this in the US, but we have grocery packers here. So it's like someone's job to pack your
Uh-huh.
groceries and they just work for tips, but it's
Right.
generally students or like older people who just want to
Uh-huh.
get out of the house during the day and make a little money. And so I remember having to tell the grocery packer, like, please just fill my bag halfway because of the hernia, I had to be so protective of anything
Wow.
I
So how
lifted that
did you work out when you had a hernia?
somehow I did this religiously. I did these Les Mills body pump classes. So it's lightweight. It was a barbell. It has its own equipment. It's like a step and a barbell. And I'd
Mhm.
go to the gym like 4 mornings a week and I'd do 2 spins and 3 or 4 of those. But basically what you're doing is you're doing all the core exercises like squats with it on your back and
Uh-huh.
but it's lightweight. Like you control how much weight you put on. So I could slowly build it up and then not go too heavy, but you're doing huge reps. So you're doing one muscle group for an entire song. So you're doing like thousands of reps. So it's a burn. It's more of like a
Mhm.
burn workout than like how
You're
much
so
you're
hardcore.
I guess I've always been hardcore. It's so funny because I was never really like a hardcore competitor. Like I would
Uh-huh.
get to like some kids, like I'm really impressed with my son. He'll like get behind the block and he's just in the zone and like
Uh-huh.
he's not had coaching on that. It's just natural. I would be like, I'm so nervous. But I've always been a hardcore trainer. I always said I was
Mhm.
way more of a training athlete than a competitive athlete. I love the training. So hey, it serves you later in life because we're not in competitions every week when we're at this age. We're only in competition with ourselves, right? With who
Right.
we were
And I
yesterday.
have to say, when I was growing up, like my mom doesn't exercise now. She had 5 kids, so she's had some issues that she wasn't really able to recover from or whatever, and some back issues. But like she would try to exercise, and it wasn't really a thing back then.
No,
Um,
it's true. It's true. And especially women, for women,
Right. And so it wasn't
even less.
really a thing. And so the fact that she did like kind of instilled into me that this is an important part of life. And she would do different things. Sometimes she would be doing weightlifting, other times it would be
Hmm.
Kalinetics. And so as she
Hmm.
would do it, then we would all do it. Like we put
Yeah.
in the VHS tape into the
Yes.
thing, and then we would
Yeah.
all like get in front and try to do
Yeah.
whatever it
And
was.
yeah.
And so it exposed me to several different types of exercise. And so that also stayed in my mind. Like if sometimes I'm like, okay, I don't have a gym membership. Well, let me just do this
Do
Kalinetics,
something at
or let me,
home.
yeah.
Right.
And
Yeah.
sometimes you can get on YouTube and you can pull up some yoga or whatever,
Totally.
like
Yeah.
there's just always something you can do. So at any given time, I'm like, and even today I wanted to go running, and then I'm like, I'm not going to have enough time. Well, I can still do some things right here. Right. I can do
Right.
some VO.
Right.
I can do you
Right.
know what I mean? I have
Yeah.
a few little free weights and whatnot.
Yeah, that's
And
so
so,
funny because you definitely reminded me. My mom was the same way. Like I remember in the 80s, her going to like Nautilus, like a Nautilus gym.
yes. Mhm.
And when she would drive me, one of my the years I did swimming, I was on like a club team that was a half hour away. So she would drive me a half hour, and then she would go around the corner to a hotel pool and swim laps while I trained for an hour and a half, and then she'd drive me a half hour home. So she was like, "Let me just make use of the time." And now I do
Yeah.
the same thing. I bring my kids to football, and it's not enough time to drop them, come home, and go
Right.
back. It doesn't really make sense. I'd just be running. So I put on my weight vest and I walk up and down the hill next to the field where they
Right.
train. It's like I didn't even connect those dots that I'm literally doing the same thing my mom did when I was a kid. I was like,
And I
you
did the
just
same thing
connected
with
that.
my son at band. I'm like, well, if you're
Right.
doing this, I'm just going to go walk. I mean, the same
Right.
thing. And I think we underestimate the impact that walking can have from a physiological perspective, because it lowers cortisol and it really gets your lymph moving. Like sometimes even
Mm.
jumping on those little bouncy things, those little miniature trampolines,
My
it
kids have
can
a
get
big
your,
one in the backyard, and I've been making it my goal to do like 5 to 10 minutes every day,
yeah. And I think,
specifically for lymph drainage. And it does.
yes.
It feels really good.
And I think that that's what you hit on for me. I don't know. And if I work up to it gradually, I don't know if I'll ever be as intense as you are. Right. And it
Right.
may be just a scheduling thing because I'm trying to juggle too many things. I don't want to have to push myself in your workout. Sometimes, if you're doing a lot of like feminine things like cooking and cleaning, you want that extra
Yeah.
push. But when I already feel like I'm doing all of these other sort of masculine energy things,
Right.
I want
Right.
something that's softer, whether it's a dance or a yoga or a walking sometimes, and it will
Totally.
alternate. But
Yeah.
one of the things that it needs to do for me at this point in my life is to feel good. It
Yes.
needs to
Yes.
feel good.
I
And part of
totally
that is
agree.
mental, like going,
Yep.
I get to do this. I get to feel my muscles move. And I
Mm-hmm.
remember, and bless my mother, but when I moved home for a brief spell after getting my PhD. And my mom was like, couldn't walk more than like a quarter mile. She would walk up to work to the high school and back where we were both subbing. And I was thinking when I just went home and I was jogging through the park 25 years ago when I moved home, my mom was the age I am now.
Wow.
And my concept of her is so much older than I feel now. And the fact that I was just, to me, I'm still like, I actually was running a marathon when I moved home the first time, but that I'm still like, let me throw on some, athletic gear and go for a run in the park. It might not be
Yeah,
a
you're
run
so
over.
active with
Yeah.
everything. You're gardening, everything. Your travel. You travel so much. Like that's hard on the body. Like you are very active.
And so I was just like, oh, wow, like I'm the same age. I'm now 5 years older than when my grandmother passed on. Now she had the kind of a failed back surgery and was on really intense medication. I think she was actually taking cocaine for
Oh,
the
for the
pain.
pain.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. And I think it affected her heart, and she had a heart attack. And I felt like she was old. Of course, I was a baby. Like, I mean, what
Right.
was I?
You don't know.
7 years
You
old?
don't,
Yeah.
to her, to you, she is old.
Right, but it just in terms of how you look, and I think that that's that youthfulness, and like with our muscles, like there's some changes to our body that we're not ready for. Right? Like you said, let me build this muscle mass
Right.
because we don't want it to decline. But I also do think that I think a lot of the stuff out there is really it's really hype. And this is cutting through the hype, like the hormone replacement therapy or whatever. And honestly, people are having problems, but a lot of it is because we have so many of these endocrine disruptors in our body that are preventing our bodies from working naturally. And and we have access to just about everything nowadays, whether it's omega-3 fatty acids or, good phospholipids or high quality grass-fed eggs. And so it's not like we're stuck somewhere where we only have access to one food, right? So
Right.
I just feel like the body has this amazing ability to, I mean, and you're starting to see it. You're starting to see pictures of women who are like 70 and you're like, she's 70? Are you kidding me? And I
But
realize I'm
honestly, have
literally
you seen,
14 years away from that.
I know, have you seen some of these 70-year-old women who lift? I mean, I honestly feel like muscle is a fountain of youth. It
Well, when you
really
exercise,
does
it helps with your
so
growth
much.
hormone and other things like that. But I do think that some people take it to like it can create a lot of oxidative stress. It can create a
Right.
lot of
There's a
inflammation.
balance. Like, and that's why I love my trainer. I love how he builds in that mobility. I've been going to a friend's weekly Feldenkrais class where you're literally like laying on the floor and doing a body scan, and then you're doing like a few subtle movements focused on one body part and noticing how it changes, after you've done that movement. And then, like, in the days following, I feel so different. And like you said, like, for me, this is like, I feel like everybody's situation is different. Just like you described, you feel like you're doing all this work and all these masculine things all day, and that you don't want to go into the gym and like grind it out. Whereas, like,
Mhm.
it is the perfect balance for me because I'm home and my other tasks are like shopping for food, preparing
Yeah.
meals,
Right. And so you
creating the
have it's a
vibe in
goal
the
oriented thing
home.
for you. It's nice to have a
Right.
goal oriented thing.
Yeah, so that's like my outlet, my time invested in me, and then I can, create the environment at home that I want to create, that everybody feels good to come home to.
And I think, and I like when you eat too much, and then especially at this age, it doesn't take long for you to start feeling this little lump growing in your belly, right? And you're like, okay, cutting back a little bit, right? Oh, it's overindulging. But to be able to throw on something we just want to feel youthful. And I actually feel more youthful now than I ever did. But there's something else that's really important to me now. And when you were talking about those releasing whatever in your body or feeling the different parts of your body, that particular technique, it's embodiment. Like I'm at an age where I want to embody it. I don't want to meet a goal to meet a goal. I don't want to look like a bodybuilder so that other people can validate me. Like I want to feel young. And yeah, when we talked about this, and I said, what is your measure of fitness? We're all like, always like, here I am. I'm very modest. No one's looking at my rear end but me. And I'm in the mirror going, how does my rear end look? Oh, it's a little droopy. I need to do something about that. Like and maybe it's because intrinsically, just like men choose certain kind of women that look a certain way because they could maybe have children. Well, I'm supposedly beyond the childbearing years, but like we want that vitality, right? That little tucked up peach rear
But
end that
honestly, like the
symbolizes it.
difference that I feel in my body from like post pre hernia surgery and even just post hernia surgery to like now, I feel like I could conquer the world. Like I just remember slowly, incrementally noticing all these changes, like going to the grocery store and being like, oh, fill those bags up. And I'm just like, here. And then I grab a case
But
of
do
like
you think that
glass
addressing
bottles,
your
sparkling.
cellular health made a difference? Because to me, it gave me that stability and that adrenal energy to go work out. Do you know
Well,
what I mean?
I feel like it all made a difference, right? Like
Mhm.
it's not one thing, it's everything together. But I think where I had this physical defect right? And I
Yes.
got
Oh
to
my gosh.
have it,
Yes.
I got to have it fixed, and then I got to slowly,
Yes.
very carefully rebuild my strength around it. I would just remember having these epiphanies of like picking up a case of glass bottled water and being like, this feels easy. Like I never would have been able to do this.
And I think that that just does like sometimes there's something wrong and fixing it can make a huge difference. And that's where like whether we're talking about human hormone replacement therapy or something, sometimes when something is enough off, you need to get it fixed, whether it's a hernia
Right.
or whether it's
Right.
a serious hormonal imbalance. Like,
Right.
where are you in that, that area? Sometimes your cellular health can fix it. Sometimes it's just one of many steps. And one of the things I do want to touch on, because we touched on it last week. So if you didn't watch last week's episode, we talked about creatine because many people are using it to bodybuild. And so I'm not going to rehash that now, but I am going to be doing a whole presentation, deep dive into how creatine actually works so you can decide whether you think it's appropriate for you. It may be appropriate in some circumstances, but you may not want to use it in others. I'm going to talk about how it can possibly create an imbalance, some of the side effects, and some of the things that we were told about it back in the day. And just do a deep dive into, and is it really for longevity? Is it actually, because everything is being promoted as longevity. And I'm just here to tell you, not everything is longevity, not even working out. You can work out so hard that you actually increase your inflammation. And there's lots of bodybuilders who have lots of heart attacks, whether they're doing anabolic steroids and whether they're doing creatine. There's a mixture of things that can create this perfect storm that creates huge levels of inflammation. So you can look healthy and you can have the tight butt and still like not really internally being healthy, right? And that's where like also things like the omega-3 fatty acids and stuff, most of us are big Weston A. Price girls. So
yeah. And I feel like I'm definitely going to be on that creatine because now I told you I had the consult with the hormone specialist from Israel, and we talked all about my health history, and I'm actually really excited. He has some new ideas for dosing and administration for my hormones. He puts them, and he's been doing this for like 20 years. And, he puts them all in a troche, which is like a lozenge, and he has great results. So he feels like he can help me, but we did touch on the bone density and the muscle mass issue.
Mhm.
And he brought up creatine and was like, I think you should add it back in. So now I've got to hear what you're going to say, and I've got to weigh all the things. I want to invite him onto the
yeah. So I mean,
show.
I really think that you said that he's like, well, nobody nowadays, because of all the things we're up against, which we know, it's the glyphosate, it's the stuff they're spraying in the air. Like there's so many, there's the endocrine disruptors. So you said that his take was
right.
just that like,
right, is that because of all
these stressors,
disruption stuff that we are exposed to, that he feels that it's a no-brainer cost benefit that women benefit from this hormone replacement therapy.
And for me, his mindset is still that the body can't detox and heal itself. And maybe the people that come in there don't want to take all the time to detox the endocrine disruptors and do whatever.
He was happy to meet me, and he literally asked me for all my supplements, and I said, well, I think I'm going to have to take you on a tour through my house because I have them strategically placed where I take them based on the time of day and what I'm doing. And he thought it was hilarious, and he listened as I showed him each and everything.
But I mean, it's an underlying philosophy. Like, and my question is, what is it that you want to fix? This is a whole nother episode. So as we wrap this one up, like, what is it that you want to fix? Because what I hear is a philosophical take that says the body can't do it itself. And there are times when I think that might be true in a particular situation for a particular person for a season or whatever, right? People
right, like that might be true for me right now in Perry, where my hormones are like this and I'm not sleeping as well as I really need to be or should be or would like to be.
I think that once you start adding those hormones, you're telling your body isn't getting the signal that it's supposed to do it itself. Now, if your health if it's having a dramatic enough effect, obviously you have to be able to get through the day. You have to be able to whatever. But I just feel like these people and some of these influencers or something, their whole take is that they believe it's necessary. I don't. I believe it can be necessary in certain circumstances, but I believe that you can bring your hormones back into balance, and herbs are a great way of doing it. And so I just feel like it's just a totally different way of looking at it. So he feels like you need it because he has a totally different philosophical approach.
And he is saying like you're starting from a great baseline. Like he would say that to me. And one of the things he wanted to tweak because of the whole bone mass thing, and we can wait and talk about this later because it is a different episode, but he brought to my attention like high dose vitamin K, because you really want that balance of D and K.
So well, you want the balance. Why would you do high dose though?
Because he was feeling like the balance is off in most DK supplements. So even like that Thorne liquid DK2 that I take, he is saying that the balance of K is not high enough. And he was recommending a different product like the Life Extension. They have like a high dose K. And he feels like that's what tells the body to send
to the bones. Absolutely.
Right. Right. Exactly.
But right. I guess I just feel like there are people who have and do live relatively healthy lives without having to bioengineer their entire world, right? Because I feel like it's like, well, now the K is here, and how is that with your magnesium, and how is that to your calcium? And like pretty soon you sound like that influencer that was like rattled off, oh, it's really easy, you just have to do, and then he goes on for 5 minutes like going into 18,000 things
of everything you need to take.
And then it's like, what? Like, he's like, and nobody else can help you with this but me, because I'm the only one smart enough to like bioengineer your whole body this way. And I just am like, I just don't. I mean, I think that like I'm really more like from a Weston A. Price perspective, like how can we
get and a food base and all and that.
And then because it isn't perfect, tweaking it, yeah. Mm-hmm. But like I just feel like where do you stop when he's like actually giving you higher levels of vitamin K, and like I don't know, and what, because like,
but I think that's based on like the bone density that I had as a baseline last year. That was so disappointing.
I understand that, but most of these people aren't biochemists. So one of the things we learn as a biochemist is when you have like two things, if you put more in here, you drive this way, you put more in here, and it always goes back and forth.
Right.
Whenever
it's never
something in like creatine, you're pushing this way over here. You're absolutely disrupting this balance of these different biochemical equations. And the more places you do that in the body is not going to be able to integrate the signal and become coherent. So every different thing you're doing, like if your body's nutrient deficient, yes, sometimes that can help build coherence. But getting it from food or lower amounts of supplementation is going to allow those things to adjust.
He's not like, I feel like you got a bad impression. Like we did talk about liver, like he wasn't like all supplements and not food. We talked about how to eat for it as well.
I think he probably is an expert, and he's like really knowledgeable, right? And he's probably, I'm going to learn a lot. So this is one of the reasons why I don't just shut you out of my life completely, right? And go, oh, that Mara. Thinking, because I have so much to learn, right? Every time you push me out of my comfort zone, which is more of a natural thing, I still do learn about this. So I feel like this is someone that probably has a lot to teach me, because like, what was it that you were saying, that if there was a peptide for it, you would try it, or
I was like, I'll find it.
And
what we were talking about.
And I was like, well, the thing is, like, when you find the peptide that gives you the, butt lift or whatever it is, it wasn't that, it was something serious. But like, then I will be like, okay, well, what is that natural system, and how can we do it naturally?
Right.
So my question is, as I learn what they're doing to bioengineer the body, my question is, how can we take what they're doing and
can I get the body to do it naturally? Right.
And it also is an education, because there's someone that's going to need that intervention. I'm not here to say that nobody ever needs this intervention, but I just see that the philosophical starting place is different. Like he's there to help people.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm there to send the message that the body contains this blueprint within itself. Mm-hmm. And how can we support the body in manifesting that blueprint? And sometimes if your body is broken down enough, you do need to support it with some hormone replacement, or you do need to, do you know what I mean? Those things,
Yeah.
or even, some peptides, and we can talk about that. And so, yeah, before we go, so we were talking about fitness. And I think the big question now is, where do these GLP-1 analogs fit in, right? On one hand, they can help you lose some weight, but on the other hand, they actually can decrease muscle mass and decrease bone density. And they can,
if they're not used properly, for
yeah,
sure.
when you're talking about something like retatrutide, it's telling the body to do two different things at the same time, that your body doesn't ever really tell yourself to, like, do two things, like release insulin and release glucagon at the same time. It's not supposed to be doing that. So I just do want to mention also that, because my friend here is on retatrutide, I'm like, okay, now I've got to look into this. So, and that is a triple agonist. It's like the newest generation GLP-1 analog. And so I'm going to be looking at all of them, whether it's Ozempic, the Wegovy. And I can't even listen to YouTube anymore without getting 3 Wegovy like
ads on it.
Yeah. And I'm like, and so, like, what are the upsides? What are the downsides? What are things you need to be concerned about? So on July 14th in Vita at 8 p.m., I'm going to be doing a webinar on GLP-1 analogs. And so we're just going to look at it. And the idea is just to give you the information. Some people are using it anyway. So I just want people to have the information. And for me, my question is, how can we do this naturally? Or more naturally, and Mara is like at the lowest dose, or for the least amount of time, or whatever it is.
Right. I'm like, let me find my lowest, what is it? What am I calling it? My lowest effective dose. But just to bring it back to the fitness and I feel like, in my mind, my overall goal is, like you said, movement, ease of movement, not falling and breaking a hip, living independently for as long as possible. In my family, we have my Sicilian grandmother who lived till 2 weeks before her 99th birthday, and she lived on her own in her own apartment. She didn't get even help with grocery shopping until the last year of her life. She cooked all her own meals, and we credit her longevity to, number one, controlling the food that she ate.
Right.
She knew how to cook and prepare whole foods, and she enjoyed them every single day. And I really believe that that's what kept her going. And please, dear God,
right?
I can never eat institutionalized food. Please, please, please. So that's a huge motivator for me.
Yeah.
I need to be in my own
I know.
space.
If you got moved into a home or something like that.
I need to be in my own space. Like, that's me.
Right.
So, like,
and I think it is for me too.
Yeah.
It's like, if I can't live life, do I really want to be any older? I don't want to just be existing. I want to be
Exactly.
fully
It's
engaged,
quality.
fully living.
Right. A quality of life. And when that's gone,
Yeah,
I feel like I'm okay to be gone too.
Yeah, I absolutely have to agree. And the question is, how do we do that? Because your grandmother wasn't, probably lifting, right?
No, but she was taking the sheets out of the closet, and she was washing the clothes and making her own bed. So it was like, by the time you reach your 80s, just keeping up your home, cooking, preparing your food and cleaning up after it is a form of fitness at that point in life.
Yeah.
Well,
and I was like, one of the things I started doing was doing, like, how they were showing these native people from Australia, like the Aborigines, and they would just squat and sit like in a squat.
Yeah. Right.
And I started doing that, and I realized, oh, this is really a good stretch, and like, we really should probably do this more. And then I would squat and go from standing, which it's different than a squat when you have weight on it, because I would go all the way down until my rear end was almost touching the floor, and go up. And I thought, if I do this like 10 or 15 times a day, like, how much more mobility am I going to have? And so, and that's part of it, is like, what can I do daily and integrate? Because I was like, what, like, when your brain is full from whatever you're doing, what exercise can I just take 10 minutes and, like, no brainer do that's going to increase my mobility and my
Maybe I
balance.
can get my trainer to come up with a short list for you, a short list of
Well,
daily mobility exercises.
I was
you could
actually
rotate.
thinking, because we had like 500 views on my my stories, which is more than I've had even on my Ebola outbreak, right? I had
Whoa.
500 views on your butt. So just next
Okay.
cells, right? So I was thinking as you were sending me all those pictures and short videos, and I was kind of laughing at them. But I was thinking, we should have her put on the channel. We do these little like clips. We should do clips of like your daily or weekly. We could do it every couple days or even just once a week, because it adds up quickly, right? A
True.
mobility exercise where like he could show you and you could video
Right.
30 seconds and maybe even get a few like bullet points that we can put on it or something like that. I don't know if you can do that on like those shorts or something, but I was just thinking, because I think it's what you do.
I'm doing it anyway, right?
Yeah, you're doing it anyway. And I
why
think,
not share?
like, I show all my gardening videos because I'm like, this is my life. And I think, and I would actually be watching them, and I have to go get one of those little ball things. You've pressured me into it. I don't even know what those are, what you do. Oh,
what's the ball? What's the ball? I'm trying to think.
Like the handles with the big metal ball on it.
Oh, a kettlebell. A
kettlebell. See how out of it I am? I don't even know what it's called. And I have to say, okay, before we go, so my ex also has a gym membership, and he's buff, just like your husband. And they're both named Scott. So it's
which is so weird. So weird.
And like he's doing pull-ups, and the woman's like, you are so amazing. And he was an Army Ranger, so totally in shape. He started jogging again. Now he's doing 7 miles a night because he just needs a challenge. So he just keeps having to go longer and longer. Anyway, we were talking about the gym and the people in the gym, and we were talking about how everyone puts this weight across their lap and then lifts it up with their legs. I was like, what is that? I've never seen that before. And he's like, that's so that you have a tight butt, is what Mara told me.
It's a hip thrust. It's a hip thrust.
So for your hips or for your butt? I thought it was for your glutes.
It targets like the glute, hamstring. I mean, all of it. It's all the whole back of the situation.
The whole back.
Whole back. It's great.
We love our maybe we'll and usually we touch on more, I don't know, in-depth scientific topics, but I think that this issue, because what is fitness and how does it come into our health goals, and how do we weave those together, and really how do we weave those together over the long term? That's always the challenge for me. And I always just think, you know what, if you did something, if you went for a walk, if you went for a jog, if you were in the gym for 30 minutes, it's still better than nothing, because
we always say that. My husband and I say that some days when it's just like not a great day, we're just like, how was your workout? How was your workout? Oh, it was filed under something is better than nothing.
Yeah.
Because everybody has days like that, but it is true. Something is always better than nothing. Always.
And over time, that's going to your cardiovascular health, your muscle mass. So. And I always think, if I'm not doing it, I always feel like I'm not doing as much as I want, but I'm always like, well, today is a new day. Like, you have the rest of your life to and every season is different. So,
yeah. And I think you have to keep an open mind. And I look at my fitness journey, and it's evolved over time, and it's going to continue to evolve.
Well, like you said, you had years where you could only do a certain amount of things. And I think that's why I think we're friends, because you have such grit. And I do too, maybe in different ways. But that you just not to give up, just to be like, okay, I'm going to do what I can. Yeah,
definitely.
I think that's a great place to end. Thanks for being with us. This was supposed to be a half an hour show, but like,
we just have too much fun. We have too much fun.
Yeah. Drop a note of what topics or any questions that you have. Oh, and here's my upcoming thing here. That I'm going to be having one on creatine, and again, one on GLP-1 analogs. But definitely drop a note if there's something you want us to cover on this show. And if you have a question, we'll try to get to it in the next episode. But what topics do you want to hear us talk about? So thanks, guys. And we'll see you next Tuesday at noon. Peace.
Bye.